Most people don't realize there's a Two-Michelin-star restaurant inside the Eiffel Tower. And being in such a tourist-heavy location, it's hard to know what to expect. So here's what the experience is actually like. Hi guys, I'm Anya, and on this channel I share my dining experiences from all over the world. From fine dining restaurants to places that really stand out for their food. Today I'm sharing my experience at Le Jules Verne in Paris. Le Jules Verne is a Two-Michelin-star restaurant inside the Eiffel Tower, serving refined French cuisine. Before this visit, I didn't even know there was a restaurant inside of the Eiffel Tower, so I was genuinely interested to see what the experience would actually be like. In this video, I'll take you through the whole experience, from the atmosphere to every single dish on the tasting menu. As already mentioned, the restaurant is inside the Eiffel Tower, but the way you get there is completely different from the usual tourist flow. There's a dedicated entrance at the base of the tower, away from the main queues. From there, you're greeted by the staff and escorted directly to a private elevator. This elevator is only for the restaurants, so you don't pass through any of the crowded public areas. Within a few moments, you're taken straight up to the dining level. Inside, the restaurant is larger than you might expect. There are several dining areas rather than one single room, and each section is arranged slightly differently. The design is modern with no tablecloths and large floor-to-ceiling windows stretching across the entire wall, so the views of Paris are a big part of the experience. The only thing is that you don't see the Eiffel Tower from there since you're already inside it. Some tables are positioned along the windows, while others are set slightly further back. We were initially seated just behind the window tables, but still with a view. And we later moved to a table directly by the window, which made it even better. Now, let's talk about the food and wine. Our reservation was for lunch, and the tasting menu, including the pricing, is the same for lunch and dinner. You can choose between a 5-course or a 7-course menu, with a 5-course menu at 295 euros and the 7-course menu at 330 euros. At the time of our visit, the wine pairing for the 7-course menu was 190 euros per person. We went for the 7-course tasting menu with the wine pairing. To start, we decided to go for a glass of champagne, Billica Salmon Rosé, which was not part of the pairing. The meal opened with a small Amuse Bouche, a tartlet. The flavors immediately remind me of something familiar, almost like a very refined version of a pizza. You could clearly taste basil, cheese, and fresh tomato, and the texture was crisp and light, which made it feel very well executed and a strong start to the meal. Then we were served bread and butter. The bread had a nice crust and a lot of flavor, and I had to stop myself from eating too much because that's a mistake I often do with tasting menus. The second amuse bouche was foie gras with white asparagus served as a custard. This was extremely delicious and had a deep flavor. The custard was smooth and rich, and the white asparagus worked beautifully with the foie gras, adding freshness and balance. The first dish of the tasting menu was French blue lobster with Tahitian vanilla, yuzu, and Granny Smith apple foam.
So to start, this is a lobster. It's a French blue lobster from Brittany Coast with some citrus, Tahitian vanilla, and Granny Smith apple foam on top. To get all the textures, you have to use your spoon and reach the bottom of the bowl to get all the perfume inside.
The apple flavor came through very clearly, and the vanilla worked really well. This was a combination I had never tried before, and it was very soft in texture, with the flavors matching really well. This was paired with a 100% wine, Conservatoire des Anciens Cépages. The wine had a slightly buttery character which worked surprisingly well with the vanilla and matched both the sweetness of the dish and the natural saltiness of the lobster. Next was a dish built around chanterelle mushroom sauce, served with a crispy buckwheat galette filled with Comté cheese. The galette was light and crisp, and the cheese melted inside. Even though the mushroom sauce was quite rich and deep, the dish itself didn't feel too heavy. This was paired with a Saint Véran wine, Climat La Benoîte, and the wine matched the dish really well. Next came the langoustine ravioli, which was one of the highlights. The flavor of the langoustine came through very clearly. Even though the dish included a Parmesan cream sauce, which was amazing, there was no doubt that the langoustine was the star of the dish. There was a generous amount of the langoustine and it was cooked perfectly. The ravioli itself was made from beetroot jelly, but it had the texture and flavor of pasta dough, which was surprising and worked incredibly well. The balance between sweetness, umami, and texture here was outstanding. The next course was turbot with Osetra caviar and Beurre Blanc, finished with Yuzu drops. The fish was cooked perfectly. This was a milder dish which allowed the caviar and citrus elements to really stand out. The yuzu drops and lime zest added a lot of flavor and freshness, and the mildness of the fish made the caviar play a central role, and everything worked together very precisely. This was paired with a Riesling from Alsace, Grand Cru Fürstentum 2021 by Albert Mann. After that came the squab served with cannelloni and truffle.
So we continue the squab. On your left side, the poached squab, poached in the consommé, will be glazed with some honey, white wine, pink peppercorn and sage. On the right side, it's a traditional pasta from Italy, garnished with Lego squab, some Comté cheese, 24 months old age, and black truffle from Australia.
Amazing.
It's a truffle from the west coast, from the Perth region.
The texture of the squab was incredible. Perfectly cooked, very tender and full of flavor. The truffle added depth without overpowering the dish. This dish was paired with a Crozet Hermitage by Émile Tichou, made from Syrah. Then came the cheese course with potato and truffle. This was honestly one of my favorite cheese dishes I've ever had. There was a generous amount of truffle, potato underneath, and a crisp layer on top. The flavors were deep and comforting, but still refined. Absolutely outstanding. Then we moved on to desserts. The first dessert was rhubarb in multiple forms. The dish included fresh rhubarb throughout, rhubarb gel on top, rhubarb mousse inside, yogurt elements, and meringues shaped like shells. There were crispy meringue pieces inside as well. The dish was light and airy with a beautiful balance between sour and sweet. This was paired with a sweet muscat, which worked very well with the acidity of the rhubarb. Then we were served a chocolate dish with mucilage sorbet, sweet clover zephyr, and roasted cocoa beans. This wasn't overly sweet at all. Instead, it focused more on bitterness, texture, and depth. This was paired with a 10-year-old Porto from Quinta da Arvamoira by Ramos Pinto. Finally, we were served 4 small sweet bites, a very satisfying way to close the meal. The service was excellent from the very beginning. From the moment we were welcomed at the entrance and escorted to the elevator, everything was handled very smoothly, all the way through to the end of the meal. We felt very well taken care of throughout the entire experience. Each dish was clearly explained, and the sommelier did an excellent job with the wine pairings. The service had everything you would expect from a Two-Michelin-star restaurant: attentive, precise, and very professional. Overall, this was an amazing experience. What made the biggest impression on me was, of course, the food. The flavors were incredible, and I honestly loved every single dish. At the same time, the setting adds something very special. The views over Paris are beautiful, and there's something unique about knowing that you're dining inside of the Eiffel Tower. And going back to the initial question whether a restaurant like this would actually live up to the expectations, I have to say that it absolutely does, which also makes it clear why it has 2 Michelin stars. And with that, we've reached the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot more restaurants and other contents coming soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.